All right, thank you everyone for joining us today. My name is Elaine Christian. I'm a Sustainability Program Coordinator with the City of West Palm Beach Office of Sustainability. I want to dive right into our program today, which is Less Meat, Less Heat. So I'm going to start sharing my screen. If you do have any questions throughout my presentation or through any of our presentations today, please feel free to drop your questions, comments in the Q&A or also in the chat. I'll try and keep my eye on the chat box as well. So let's see here. Okay, here we go. So what we eat has major implications for climate change. The destruction of rainforests to create land for agriculture, along with growing demand for meat, are major contributors to the greenhouse gases, which are taking a significant toll on climate and global food security. To top it off, we waste about 1/3 of the food that is produced. But more people are taking a closer look at what they're eating and the impacts of their diets on their health and on the environment. So as we go through this presentation, we're going to look at reducing our meat consumption and the impacts on our planet. Most of my presentation is derived from the New York Times bestseller Drawdown, the most comprehensive plan ever proposed to reverse global warming by Paul Hawken. But first, we're going to talk about someone else who is also very important. Michael Pollan is an American author who writes about the places where nature and culture intersect. So on our plates, in our farms and gardens, and in the built environment. His work includes In Defense of Food, An Eater's Manifesto, The Omnivore's Dilemma, Food Rules, An Eater's Manual, and he has simplified the conundrum of eating by stating, eat food, not too much, mostly plants. And mostly plants is the key here. Shifting to a diet rich in plants is a demand-side solution to global warming that runs counter to the meat-centric, highly processed, often excessive Western diet that is broadly on the rise today. Project Drawdown has ranked plant-rich diets as number 4 in a list of top 100 climate actions. This means that just by a simple diet change, we can have a huge impact on the amount of greenhouse gases being emitted. As we go through this presentation, let's keep this in mind as we see just how easy it is to make this very simple change. The meat-loving Western diet comes with a very steep climate price tag, 1/5 of global emissions. And as we go on, we're going to dig a little deeper into this. This graphic here is from the National Park Service, and I just want to talk a little about the greenhouse effect and the difference between normal carbon dioxide concentrations in our atmosphere and rampant CO2 or carbon dioxide levels. The greenhouse effect is there, it's present. The sun is radiating heat down to the surface of the earth, and a lot of it is bounced back into space. Unfortunately though, when we have high levels of greenhouse gases in our atmosphere, it acts as a heated blanket and it keeps that solar radiation in. It just gets hotter and hotter and really tampers with our climates and global warming as well. A big problem that we're seeing is land use changes to raise livestock. Deforestation causes incalculable environmental damage, releasing billions of tons of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere and driving thousands of species of life to extinction every year. This is just another reason why it's important to limit our meat consumption and lower the demand. It's estimated that raising livestock accounts for nearly 15% of global greenhouse gases emitted each year. And the most comprehensive assessments of direct and indirect emissions say more than 50%. The production of meat and dairy contributes many more emissions than growing their sprouted counterparts. Cows are some of the most prolific offenders, generating the potent greenhouse gas methane as they digest their food. In addition, agricultural land use and associated energy consumption to grow the livestock feed produces carbon dioxide emissions, while manure and fertilizer emit nitrous oxide. If cattle were their own nation, they would be the world's 3rd largest emitter of greenhouse gases. Overconsumption of animal protein also comes with a steep cost to human health. Around the world, protein eaten daily goes well beyond dietary requirements. On average, adults require 50 grams of protein each day But in 2009, it was shown that the average per capita consumption was 68 grams per day. That's 36% higher than necessary. In the US and Canada alone, the average adult consumes 90 grams per day. Studies have shown that eating too much animal protein can lead to certain cancers, strokes, and even heart disease. It's important to take note of how much protein we're consuming each and every day. With billions of people dining multiple times a day, imagine how many opportunities exist to turn the tables. It is possible to eat well in terms of both nutrition and pleasure while eating lower on the food chain, thereby lowering emissions. According to the World Health Organization, only 10 to 15% of one's daily calories need to come from protein, and a diet primarily of plants can easily meet that threshold. I think we can all agree that it's time to turn the tables, and it's time to do it together. I encourage you to look to sources such as choosemyplate.gov to discover just how much of each food group we should be eating. ChooseMyPlate.gov can help you plan out meals, provide nutritious recipes, and offer advice to help alter your protein routine. The Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations shows us just how much emissions are produced by each species. As I had mentioned before, you can see that cattle are the most prolific offenders. In order for individuals to give up meat in favor of options lower on the food chain, those options need to be available, visible, and tempting. Companies such as Beyond Meat and Impossible Foods are proving that it is possible to swap out proteins in painless or pleasurable ways. And plant-based alternatives are now making their way into grocery store meat cases, which may prompt changes to our habitual behaviors around food. Even football star Tom Brady and boxer Mike Tyson eat plant-based diets. Plant-rich diets are not meant for a certain type of person or one over the other. Plant-based diets are for everyone. Chefs around the world are starting to make the case for eating wildly and with pleasure without meat. You may notice more and more when you go out to eat that there are more vegetarian options on the menu today. Initiatives such as Meatless Mondays and VB6, which is vegan before 6 p.m., are helping to shift biases around reduced meat consumption. As we debunk protein myths and amplify the health benefits of plant-rich diets, I hope this will encourage you to try even a small change in your eating patterns. Instead of being the exception, vegetarian options should become the norm, especially at public institutions such as schools and hospitals. And when I look at a dish such as this, it just speaks to me. I can almost smell it, and it looks so pleasing to the eyes. And maybe this dish doesn't speak to you, but I encourage you to do a little research to find what speaks to you and your palate. One of the most common myths that I hear is that vegetarian meals are boring. Vegetarian and vegan meals certainly do not mean boring food. Spice up your recipes with a free spice packet from the Office of Sustainability. You can visit our webpage, wpb.org/lessmeat, to request your free spice packet today. However they are achieved, plant-rich diets are a win-win for society. Eating with a lighter footprint reduces emissions and tends to be healthier, leading to lower rates of chronic disease. Few climate solutions of this magnitude lie in the hands of individuals or are as close as the dinner plate. Remember, plant-rich diets are ranked as number 4 among the top 100 climate actions to reverse global warming. And you can even grow your own food on a balcony. A vegetable handpicked from your own garden tastes so much better than anything you can buy in a store. And here in Florida, home gardeners can grow various vegetables all year long. Home gardens are convenient and may encourage you and your family to eat more fresh vegetables. The choices are truly endless, with vegetables of all sizes, colors, and shapes. The University of Florida Institute of Food and Agricultural Sciences offers a great vegetable gardening guide, whether you are in South, North, or Central Florida. I encourage you to visit our webpage, wpb.org/lessmeat, for more information and delicious recipes to try. And I just want to thank you again for joining us today. My contact information, or my office contact information, is here. Our email address is sustainability@wpb.org. Our main webpage is wpb.org/green. And you can also find us on social media on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at WPB Green. And with that, I'll stop my share. And I want to check real quick. Do we have no questions? All right, guess we're doing good so far. So I'm going to now transition to our next speaker presenter, Haley Osborne, who is a student at UCF. She's a senior, and she's going to share her journey to a plant-rich diet. Haley, do you want to say a few words?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Haley. Thank you for joining us for today. So I made a video on being plant-based and just my experience with it, so I hope you enjoy.
Thank you, Haley. And before I switch over to your video, I just want to address, we have a Q&A question. Will this recording be posted? And yes, it will. It will be on our YouTube channel. And I can share that link with everyone. I have all of your registration details, so I'll share that with you as soon as we get it up on YouTube. So now I'm gonna switch over to Haley's wonderful video. Just give me 1 second. I'm gonna move things around here. Sorry guys, give me 1 second. All right.
Hi there, my name is Haley Osborne. I am a senior college student at UCF. I'm majoring in biology and plant sciences. And today I'm here to talk to you about being pescatarian and being plant-based in general. And I just want to thank you for coming to the Less Meat, Less Heat presentation. And thank you so much to Penny and Elaine for allowing and asking me to be a guest speaker. I really appreciate it. This is a topic I feel really passionate about, and I'm really hopeful I can share some of my knowledge with you guys. So I am pescatarian, so that means I only eat seafood, and I do have a reduced dairy intake. So the fish I do eat is just caught mainly by local family friends, and I know how they catch their fish. I trust them and how they process it and how much they take. So I really avoid any market price at any seafood restaurant. I don't know where it's coming from. I don't know what their practices are in sustainability, so it's just something I try to avoid overall. So first of all, I want to talk about why I am pescatarian. So I have been pescatarian for over a year now, since July of 2019. And it was just more of an overall shift for me. I realized that my mindset had been changing since I went into college in fall of 2016. And I realized that I could do better, I could change, and that was one of the ways that I have changed my lifestyle. I no longer felt comfortable consuming livestock when I just kind of learned how they're treated and how they're slaughtered, to be perfectly honest. I just became consciously aware of what I was consuming, and I knew I could change. So I'd like to start by quoting Project Drawdown, and if you forgive me, I have a monitor over to my right, your left. And so Drawdown is a project that was founded in 2014. They are a nonprofit organization that seeks to help the world reach drawdown, in quotations, the future point in time when levels of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere stop climbing and start to steadily decline. So this was a website Penny actually introduced to me a few weeks ago, and I'm very fortunate for that. Thank you. And I do also want to quote something about plant-based diets and how they affect your personal life as well as they affect the earth. So according to a 2016 study, business as usual emissions could be reduced by as much as 70% through adopting a vegan diet and 63% for a vegetarian diet, which includes cheese, milk, and eggs. $1 trillion in annual healthcare costs and lost productivity would be saved. So I think a lot of things have changed for me since 2016 when I started to get into this mindset of just opening my horizons and realizing that I can do a lot better. One of the biggest shifts I made at first was only purchasing personal care items and makeup from brands that were cruelty-free and vegan, and I spent a lot of time learning about that and what that meant. Basically, from what I've learned is a lot of makeup companies they originate in the US, they have some type of animal testing that is mandated and it has to occur. Once I realized that, I just wasn't comfortable with that at all. And I just decided that I, as a consumer, had power where my money went. And so I started researching. I found a lot of great sites on where I could find better makeup for me and for animals and for the planet. And that was the first step where I was like, wow, I can actually make a change. You know, my 18-year-old self can do something. So in 2018, I stopped drinking milk, and that was more of a personal preference and a personal choice than it was more so being under the strict guidelines or, you know, so-called guidelines of being plant-based or vegetarian. So basically vegetarians still consume animal products, they just don't consume the animals themselves. I just decided for my own personal well-being that I just didn't want to consume dairy anymore, and that was just another way that I can make a change in my own life. So I know if you're considering going plant-based or vegan or vegetarian, it can definitely seem very confusing and overwhelming, and I kind of just want to help you with a few things that I've learned and tips that have helped me, and so I have some notes here that I'm going to look over. But basically, I learned that animal products are hidden in a lot of things that you wouldn't even think about. You can think about Jell-O or marshmallows are made from gelatin, which is animal skin, connective tissue, and bones. And so that isn't vegetarian or vegan by that matter. Also, carmine is ground up insect, and it's used in a lot of dyes in foods. So it's just more so being aware and just continually learning. It's not like you learn it all and then you become plant-based. It's more so, oh, I didn't know about that. And then you keep going and you keep growing. So when I first started to transition, those first 6 months, I was looking for a way to transition from meat to meatless. I found Meatless meats, and for me, it was a great place to start to transition, to be able to get used to not consuming meats, but something that was similar. But for me, it wasn't the best to rely on in terms of just health awareness. I knew that it was high in sodium, and although it was made from some type of vegetable protein, it wasn't necessarily fresh food. And a lot of food like that is frozen, and it comes in packages that are not recyclable. And for me, that's another thing that tugs at my heart, is that I try to live not a low-waste lifestyle, but as low-waste as I can. So in terms of what packaging that I can eliminate, that was one thing I noticed, that how much I was going through, and I didn't necessarily need it. You might want to learn how to cook. I actually really enjoy cooking. I have an Instant Pot, and I think it's really fun to cook in the kitchen and making a meal for yourself. But if you don't cook, or if you're a little scared, I would say just try. It's really rewarding and redeeming. I went on Pinterest, and that's where I get a lot of my recipes from. But basically, it saves me a lot of money. I know exactly what food I'm cooking with. It's a lot of whole foods, a lot of vegetables. There's no added fillers or processed items. And I kind of have a rule of thumb where I try to stay out of the middle of the grocery stores. You know, at the borders around the grocery store are much better in terms of freshness. There is less waste compared to going out and eating out every night, especially right now. I know a lot of restaurants are making strides to have more recyclable or eco-friendly packaging when people are buying to-go food. But if you can just eliminate waste that one way, it does make a big difference in the long run. Another thing I learned was that just because a product is inherently vegan or vegetarian doesn't mean that it's exactly nutritional for you. And I don't want to say healthy because I'm not a nutritionist or a dietitian, so I'll leave it with that. So here I'm not talking about an apple or a banana or things like that, but talking about things that are processed in the grocery store that might actually be vegetarian or vegan. So ingredients matter in that case. So especially it goes back with the imitation meats. They are vegan and vegetarian, but they may not necessarily be the best for you. If their ingredients are hard to pronounce or seemingly hard to understand, it probably is a sign that you shouldn't be eating them. And I would just say go for more whole foods, as I've said, like veggies, whole grains, legumes, seeds, and nuts. And the last thing I want to talk about is that you're going to mess up, and that's okay. I've messed up. Last Thanksgiving, I was with my whole family, and I found out that I had eaten collard greens that had bacon in them, and I didn't know, and I didn't taste it either, so I don't really know what that says about me, but it's one of the things. It's part of the learning experience. Like, no one is expecting you to be perfect, so don't hold yourself to that standard. And I've definitely done that to myself before, but it's okay to mess up. It's just easier to learn and just keep going, because that's all that we can do, is making a contribution in some way. I've shared some of my favorite plant-based recipes with Elaine, and she will be posting these in the comments in this Zoom chat, as well as in the YouTube description of this video where it can be played later as well. So I just want to say thank you so much for listening, and thank you again to Penny and Elaine for letting me speak today. And I'll be available. I am in the Zoom chat right now, so if you have any questions, let me know.
All right. Thank you, Haley. And I want to, before we transition to Q&A, again, if you guys do have any questions, please drop those in the Q&A box or in the chat box. We're monitoring both. But I want to swing things over to Cynthia. Cynthia is our spice manufacturer. I know I mentioned the spice packets that we're giving away for free. She put these together for us. So I just want to hand it over to her to say a few things about the importance of spices, because again, vegetarian and vegan meals do not always mean boring or bland.
Thank you, Elaine. It's a pleasure to be here. And as you stated earlier, I think it's really important that there is this need to help others make the connection between the food on their plate and the fate of our planet. So I'm all for preserving our planet and the environmental issues that we're faced with on a daily basis. And my own journey from being a carnivore to adopting a vegan lifestyle occurred many, many years ago. And I'm very proud of that. And I'm a firm believer, like Haley stated, just the importance of making that change and how it can impact and help you and your health. And it's so important to go meatless, and it's sometimes can be a challenging transition, but all it does is you have to just adopt baby steps and find your way. But anyway, I'm here to talk about spice and how you can enhance your meals by the flavors of various spices. And at La Tour de Spice, we have found that not only do spices enhance the flavor of foods, but they also have many health benefits on their own. You can start with turmeric, which is great for Indian cuisine, as well as it's wonderful in a drink called golden milk. And we have a lot of recipes as well on our website. So if anyone is interested, and I'm constantly updating those recipes. But we also have little power packs that Elaine, you have, and which is one of our specialty rubs. And this rub is not just for barbecue, for meat or whatever. It's amazing on roasted vegetables or in lentils, any dishes that are vegetarian or vegan in nature. And as Haley mentioned earlier too, transitioning from meat to vegan or vegetarian, a lot of times you'll find replacements that are meatless, but they're not whole food. They're highly processed, and it's okay to transition and eat that a little bit, but eventually you want to try and get away from it and eat foods in their whole state. And by doing that, enhancing it with flavors of spices, whether they're Mediterranean or Italian, you can create some amazing dishes and tastes. But don't shy away. I think it's all about getting creative in the kitchen and taking chances, and you'll find some dishes that are really enticing and that you'll make over and over again. And if you have any questions on any spices, please feel free to reach out to me.
Thank you, Cynthia. And I don't know if you want to drop your email address or contact information in the chat box. I did include your website on there for people to
Perfect.
visit.
Sure. Yes, absolutely.
And also on our wpb.org/lessmeat website too, we do have a few recipes up there that you can use your free spice packet with. And they look really delicious. Unfortunately, I've not tried them. I hate saying that, but I haven't tried them yet, but I need to. But I will soon. I will soon.
Oh, good.
We do have one question here, and I can answer it, or Haley, I don't know if you have a take, or Cynthia. What do you guys think about aquaculture? I've heard some feedback that the food is healthy, but the process of farming and raising may not be so good for the health of the planet. Do you guys have anything you want to add to that?
I'm not super educated on it. I think I'm still learning about aquaculture. So I don't want to like speak because I don't know too much, but maybe Cynthia, if you know something, I might be able to chime in that that kind of I remember something about it.
No, I'm not versed in that myself, but so Haley, if you can touch upon it, that would be informative for me too.
I don't know. Sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, I think with any type of meat production, whether it's aquaculture, whatever it may be, just doing your research with every company that you're purchasing from or getting your meat from or food from. It's always really important to do your research, even with vegetables. Where are your vegetables coming from? Are they coming from another country? Are they coming from your county? So that can make a huge difference too. And I see Lourdes chimed in here and said the problem is what they're feeding the seafood too. Laura, I saw you raise your hand. Do you want to add anything?
I'm just saying, in terms of climate change, it's healthy because if you do aquaculture and the plants, right? So it's becoming kind of cycle. So you have a fertilizer from the fish, and you don't have additional anything to buy or do for your plants. But there is a downside to that. As far as I know, not all the plants can be growing together with the fish because it's different pH. So yeah, it is need to be a little research on that. But I saw myself, I was in a couple of places which practicing those things, and I didn't receive any negative comments, just people love it. And maybe I just need to read up some scientific research in terms of the fish and like quality of, but definitely it's not gonna have plastic there, right? Like hopefully. So yeah.
Yeah, I see Lourdes also said there's also impact on plastic on seafood, or of plastic on seafood. And yeah, plastic all around is a huge issue. Even with our fruits and vegetables, I see those wrapped in plastic individually, which I have no idea where that started coming about. But Haley, were you going to add something to that conversation?
I guess maybe it might just be more of like an individualistic thing, is like just the farming aspect, as a lot of people might not be comfortable, especially vegans might not be comfortable with the idea of any farming. And so like fish farming is just like an arm off of that. So I think it might be personal preference. I just don't know enough about like studies behind it. So.
Yeah, and I think just really going back to just doing your research with whatever you're purchasing, every time you spend $1, you are voting with your dollar. So only investing your money into those companies that are doing the right thing and doing it sustainably, I think is really important. And it's something very simple that you can do every single day. So just being aware of that too. Are there any other questions that we have? Any questions from anyone? I hope you've all have learned something new today. And again, we're not saying to go vegan tomorrow. Take it day by day. Maybe try a Meatless Monday every week, start maybe once a week. Meatless Monday is a big campaign, and I've been trying to repost their information on our social media pages too, to help increase awareness. And they have a lot of great recipes there too. There are just so many resources out there for everyone. So I really encourage you to do a little research. And if you're in the city of West Palm Beach, of course, request your free spice packet from us. We have a lot of other great programs too that we have going on. So please visit our webpage, wpb.org/green. Let's see, we have something in the Q&A. I'm in San Francisco visiting, and here they use compostable bags at the grocery store for fruits and vegetables. We need to get them in Florida. I totally agree. One thing we do have to be careful of is greenwashing. Sometimes those compostable or biodegradable bags may not be actually compostable or biodegradable. And so that's kind of what we've run into with some of these bags locally that I've seen, that they're actually green in color and they say that they're biodegradable. But if they are truly compostable in a backyard composter, that is terrific. I love that. What often happens with compostable products is they say that they're compostable, but that's in a commercial composter, which we do not have in Palm Beach County. So the reality of that product actually getting into a commercial composter can sometimes, unfortunately, it probably is not making it there unless you make a really conscious effort to get it there, which I commend you for doing that. But we're really looking, in the city of West Palm Beach, and making sure that we are promoting the right products that are going to be good for our environment, and that they aren't greenwashing, or they actually are biodegrading in the environment. And that's why we put forward the plastic straw ban too, plastic straw and stir ban in the city of West Palm Beach, to get those items out of the city, so that we don't have to worry about that problem anymore, hopefully. If you do see a business using plastic straws, please contact me. I'll have just a little chat with them, but it's just good to know. Maybe they just haven't been educated on it, but I'm always happy to have that conversation. So with that, I could go on and on about plastics, you guys, so I won't turn it into a plastic conversation. But I don't see any more questions. We are right at 12:30 or 12:33. So I just want to say a big thank you to everyone who's joined us today. Haley, Cynthia, I really appreciate you both being here and sharing your experience and information with everyone.
Of course, no worries.
Thank you, my pleasure.
Thank you, guys. I'm going to go ahead and end the meeting. This recording will be up on YouTube, and again, I'll send it out to everyone who has attended today so that you can view it and hopefully share it with your friends and family later on. All right. Thank you, guys. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.